those who eat my flesh and drink my blood have eternal life, and I will raise them up on the last day. For my flesh is true food, and my blood is true drink. This is the fourth Sunday where we have been reading from John 6, which is about Jesus saying, I am the bread of life. Those who come to me will never hunger, and those who believe in me will never thirst. But today we move further into this subject. Instead of talking about coming to him and believing in him, Jesus goes further and explicitly says, those who eat my flesh and drink my blood have eternal life. We have moved into Jesus speaking of his sacramental presence in the Eucharist itself. This series of passages began with the feeding of the 5,000 and has reached to our eating and drinking Jesus' body and blood. But, let's face it, this is language that is so direct that many Christians shrink from it. For some, this is just too much. Jesus is going too far. Many prefer to use euphemisms in their preaching and liturgy, such as, we partake in the body and blood of Christ, or we share in it. Some prefer to emphasize the Eucharist as a community meal. For some, this is beyond the polite distance that we like to maintain between ourselves and Jesus. It offends modern sensibilities, especially for those who want their faith to be only intellectual or cerebral, about what we think, but not about what we eat and drink. Some try to explain it away as something merely symbolic or about something else entirely. But we cannot ignore, deny, or change what Jesus is telling us in this gospel. Like the other things in John, such as the incarnation, this is central and essential. The gospel stands or falls on such truths. In other words, they are about our faith. Either we believe these words, or we don't. Because our faith in Jesus is that he came to live and die as one of us, to unite us with God and to give us new life, or he didn't. In the Eucharist, we participate in the sacrifice of Calvary, and are fed and nourished by Jesus himself, who is food for our earthly journey in the Eucharist, where we live in him, and he lives in us. And you can see how this connection with Jesus as our food is the foundation of everything we are as Christians. The eating and drinking of Jesus' body and blood are the earthly sign and foretaste of the banquet of heaven, our ultimate destination, where we will see him no longer in sacrament, but face to face. In John's Gospel,